Gypsy-Rose, when you reflect on your participation in murdering your mother, what actually happened?
I should have spent the rest of my life in prison. I felt like my mom was my best friend. She was my protector. So you have a child that just wants her mom to love her.
You're the reason I was born, to be your mom.
What was your mother claiming?
I had supposedly a seizure disorder, leukemia, paralyzed since birth. But I knew that I could walk.
Was there ever a moment where a doctor told her no?
Yes, this brings us to quite a pivotal moment.
But you then start dating. There was Nick, Ryan, and Ken.
Something in me snapped. Nick was the gasoline, I was the fire. First thing he said when he comes to the door is, "This is dead." I wanted to go and help her.
You were trying to hold on.
Having people run up to you and want to take a selfie with you. None of that I was prepared for. Y'all made me this. I didn't. But it wasn't until I had my daughter thinking to myself, how can a parent ever hurt their child?
Was there anything that you've seen or heard about your life you want to clarify?
In all the interviews that I have done, I have never had anyone really listen to me until now.
In this episode, Gypsy-Rose Blanchard shares her own account of her life and experiences, including the murder of her mother, childhood abuse, and allegations of sexual assault. We must note, to be legally accurate, that these allegations of sexual assault have been reported previously, have been denied or disputed, and have not resulted in criminal prosecutions. We report but do not adopt them. These topics may be difficult to hear, so please watch with care. This is a deeply powerful conversation, and I hope that you take something meaningful away from it. If you do, please like and subscribe to our channel, as it really helps us to keep bringing you more and more conversations just like this one. You're one of the most recognizable, I think, figures in the United States. Gypsy-Rose is one of, I think, the most recognizable names. However, I believe that there's a lack of understanding about who you actually are.
Yeah.
And what actually happened.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm so intrigued and so honored that you're here to give us your time.
Well, I'm happy.
All right.
I'm happy to get into it.
All right. Let's do it. Let's do
All
it.
right, let's do it.
Okay. So could we then begin with your parents? All right. So Dee Dee and Rod. When did your parents meet and where did they meet?
So my parents met in a town, very small in Louisiana. Originally, they became friends, and then not too long after, hanging out, my mom got pregnant, and my father felt like the right thing to do would be to marry my mom. Even though, he was, honestly, he was just a kid.
Yeah.
He dropped out of high school, and around that same time, he got another woman pregnant. So I have a half sister. And he realized, oh my gosh, now I have 2 daughters to take care of and pay child support on and things like this. And on my dad's 18th birthday, he realized that he was not in love, that he married my mom for good intent, but he didn't love her. He wasn't in love with her like that. And so he ended the relationship. It ended in divorce. And my mom got custody.
Okay.
And I lived with my mom.
How do you think that impacted her?
In hindsight, I realized that, that must have been so hard on her. Because there's not only that element of abandonment, but the trauma that my mom went through as a child herself, I think the hits just kept coming.
Yes.
And she loved him very, very much. So, looking back on it, that must have been heartbreaking. And I am a reflection of my dad. I look just like my dad. So I can imagine that that must have been really hard for her.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. What was life like for you and your mother in particular in those first 5 years?
I mean, I would say that, I felt like my mom was my best friend. Um, I felt like she was my protector. The childhood seemed fairly normal because the first 5 years of my life, my grandmother was still alive.
Okay.
Um, and I honestly feel like when my grandmother passed away, my mom lost a part of herself that at least was keeping her together. Um, because at the age of 5, I was still able to be around my cousins. I have a very large family. Lots of cousins. I have 2 aunts, uncles, and then when my grandmother passed away, my grandfather got me remarried. My mother did not approve of the new relationship, and everybody took sides.
Okay.
And then from there, my mom and I started moving around.
Interesting. And was that because you could no longer live in the house?
Correct. From what I understand, my uncle addressed um all the things that my mom was doing at that point. He was like, "Why isn't Gypsy in school? You need to put her in school. Um, I really just don't think she's as sick as what you claim. She's perfectly fine. She plays with my kids." And he just put her on blast.
I see it. So what was your mother doing or claiming at that time?
Well, at the age of, 5, I was still seeing many doctors. The list of ailments was not as long as it was obviously later on in life. But I had supposedly a seizure disorder. Supposedly I had leukemia, hearing impaired, vision impaired, muscle weakness. So all of these things I was still and GI problems, gut problems. So all of this was happening even at the age of 5.
What about, do you remember, or what you've heard, what did the other family members, especially who were living with you,
Mm.
what did they think?
The thing about my mother's side of the family is they don't really recognize mental health problems. Obviously in the 90s, the 80s, 90s, mental health problems was shrugged off and considered you're weird. They put you in a box and in a category that you're just crazy.
Yes.
Instead of it being addressed with therapy. And so that's the kind of box they just put my mom into. Even, her own family put her in that box of like, oh, she's just weird, she's just crazy. Um, and so it's like I think that they had a hint that, yeah, this is not normal, but there's a lot of things that was going on in that family that was not normal.
Okay. Okay. Now you mentioned there, and this is something that this is a term that I didn't know until doing the research for you, is so from what I understand is yes, your mom wasn't weird or
Mhm.
crazy. She suffered from a disorder.
Mhm.
So this is this FDIA
Mhm.
or Munchausen, FDIA, fabricated or induced illness,
Mhm.
or FII.
Mhm.
And it's a severe form of child abuse
Mhm.
or mental illness where a caregiver
Mhm.
fakes or causes symptoms or illness in a child to gain attention or sympathy,
Mhm.
right? And it's previously was known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Correct.
So from what I understand, this is what your mother suffered from.
Mhm.
And I've seen reports that have said that she has one of the most, uh, historically, one of the most notorious, this is one of the most notorious sufferers
Mhm.
of this disease.
Correct.
And she took this out on you.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So the family doesn't know what's happening. They just say that she's weird.
Correct.
But as you mentioned, there's other things happening in the house.
Mhm.
Can you talk about what was happening in the house so we understand the full environment?
I mean, as far as, my mother goes, she was supposed to be on medication. She was
really?
supposed to be
Okay.
on medication because she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I remember like there was a therapist that would come to the house, a counselor. And then when we moved from Louisiana to Missouri, she stopped seeing the therapist and she stopped being on medication. Um, I remember, growing up with a mom that said, do you hear that? I hear voices, telling me that there's 7 voices and 6 of them doesn't like me. Do I see that? Like seeing things that aren't there. And I didn't see these things. So, it would kind of break my mom's heart when I would be like, no, I don't see anything. So it's definitely a lot of that manipulation. Growing up, my mom was like, your dad wants nothing to do with you. He has his family now. He's remarried. He's got new kids. They're his favorite. He doesn't love you and he doesn't love me. But I love you. I'm the one that's here day in and day out. Appreciate me, you know.
I see it.
So it's a lot of that. And growing up, I didn't have a high self-esteem. Not because my mom didn't tell me I was pretty, but more so because I wasn't allowed to form my own identity, um, and feel confident in myself, discovering who I am.
I see it. I see it.
Mhm.
And even on that point too, where you mentioned your mother, in essence, was isolating you,
Mhm.
right, from your father.
Mhm.
I've noticed that this is a standard maneuver of abusers,
Mhm.
is the social isolation of of the person that they're targeting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see a mother do that to a child.
Mhm.
So now, if you're willing to talk about it, is that when you're talking about there's lots of stuff happening in the house.
Mhm.
Um, from what I understand, is your grandfather
Mhm.
was assaulting people. Can you talk about that so we can understand at what 6 or 5?
I was
What
9.
you were 9.
I was 9.
Okay.
My earliest memory of something just not being appropriate would be, around the age of 5-ish. And when after my grandmother passed away, um, it was me, my mom, and my grandfather all living in the house until he, moved.
Okay.
And so upstairs, there's a bathroom on the second floor, and it had a tub. And I remember my mom taking a bath and my grandfather like washing her. And then she gets out of the tub and then proceeds to put me in the tub with him. And I have this memory. Other family members have called me a liar. They do not believe this at all because they're like, the tub was so small. How could 2 people fit in there? Um, I was little. I was very little. And, obviously having my grandfather expose himself like that, I was so little. I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know anything about sex or anything like that. Um, but he found enjoyment in exposing himself to me. And then when I was 9, after a bad car accident happened with me and my mom, she was left in the hospital and somebody needed to take care of me. So my grandfather stepped in and I went to live with them for a short time. And this is where the majority of the abuse happened. Um, and I was confused about it. I felt like it was wrong, but I wasn't sure exactly why I felt it was wrong. Um, and it wasn't until I got a little older that I started, obviously learning more about sex and sexual acts. That, it's sad that my first memories of that has to be like, oh yeah, that's what grandpa did to me, you know. Um, and a lot of my family members are not speaking to me now because I have been so public about it.
Yeah, yeah. It's so hard to hear incidents like this, but then in particular at 9, this is your family, and this is the only a semblance of safety that you have, which is none. Do you believe your mother was aware? I know that you said other family members are in denial of this, but was your mother aware of what was happening?
She was aware after the fact.
Okay.
So I had on a car ride to the hospital. It was one of my checkups. We were riding in the car and I started to tell her about it. And she started to cry. And she asked me a very specific question. And I said yes. And she started to cry. And I started to backtrack. I got scared. I didn't want to see her cry. So I started to backtrack. I'm like, no, it didn't. And I just wasn't fully open with her about it because I could see how much she blamed herself. And it wasn't until much later that she had told me, he did the same thing to her.
Wow.
And so she decides, hey, we can't stay here anymore, mostly because of the constant drama between her and my grandfather's wife.
Okay.
It just left the house very super uncomfortable. And so my mom just thought it would be best for us to leave. We stayed at the Ronald McDonald House in New Orleans for a few months, actually.
Okay. And for everyone who is not familiar with the Ronald McDonald
Yeah.
House, could you explain it?
So the Ronald McDonald House is essentially a lodging home for children and their families while the children are going through their doctor's appointments. It's a place for them to stay near the hospital. And it's at a short fee. So I think it was like $5 a night for us, I believe. So, it's crazy to say that the Ronald McDonald House was kind of like, okay, that was my next home, because we stayed there so much. But then my mom found Section 8 housing, and that's where we lived from there. I feel like the constant arguments between her and her father, then learning of my abuse, just kind of all spiraled her more and more into this darker place.
Okay.
At around the age of, 8 or so, went into the hospital for, actually, you know what? I can't even remember what it was for, but I did a long time in the hospital. It was like a 6-month stint in the hospital.
Okay.
And that's when they put the feeding tube in.
And you can't recall how you got to the hospital?
My mom drove us, but I don't remember what the initial appointment was for.
Okay. But you ended up then going in for 6 months, which, I mean, that's significant.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And you were given a feeding tube, and then you were placed in a wheelchair.
Yeah, so the wheelchair happened. There's so many different stories that my mom told different people. So the initial story that my mom told to family was I went into the hospital. Then upon having surgery, I had a seizure on the operating room table that left me paralyzed. That was the first story.
Okay.
So, of course, growing up, that's what I thought. I knew that I could walk. I just want to make that clear. I knew that I could walk. So then she goes on to tell other people, well, she was paralyzed, and doctors, mind you, tell doctors that I was paralyzed since birth.
Oh, wow.
Even though there's pictures and there's family and there's all these people that had seen me grow up walking.
Right. So then what I believe is hard to understand is how do doctors then believe her enough to give you the feeding tube, to give you the wheelchair? How were they fooled?
My mom had a very, her personality was sweet. To the untrained eye, I guess you could say, she had a very welcoming presence. It was like that classic Southern mom. Hi, sweetie, darling, sugar plum, all that.
Yes.
And there was one doctor in particular, that she honestly, I think, in my opinion, buttered up. She would buy him gifts. He would come and visit us at the Ronald McDonald House.
Okay.
There was this sort of friendship that I don't feel is professional. You shouldn't have friendships with your patients.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see it. I see it. And so because of her charisma,
Mhm.
right, she was able to, sounds like, dupe
Mhm.
these doctors.
Mhm.
Was there ever a moment where a doctor said no and told her no?
Yes, there was, and this brings us to quite a pivotal moment. There was a doctor. His name was Dr. Flashenstein, or Flasherstein, however you want to kind of say it.
Okay.
And he examined me. He was a neurologist. Pretty sure he's retired now, but he asked me to stand up in his doctor's office. Now, I learned this on the documentary about myself. I'm learning things about my own life in a documentary.
Look at that.
And the rough part for me is, I have a therapist. And for a long time after watching the documentary, I'm like, he's lying. I don't remember that. I never remember him asking me to stand. And then a few months ago, I was laying in bed and I feel like I have two memories. And I don't know which one's real, but I think I maybe do recall him asking me to stand up. And I don't know if it was blocking that memory, but now I'm kind of like, oh my God, maybe he did.
Yes.
And I think I did stand up. And he told my mom, point blank, there's no reason why she can't walk. She can walk. She's fine. And my mom left. We never went to see that doctor again. But that doctor had put in the medical records, in his notes from that day, suspicion of mother with Munchausen by proxy. He puts that in the medical records. Now, my mom would always request a copy of the medical records after every appointment.
Okay.
We guess, me being me, my family, my attorney, we all think that she's seen that in the medical records and chose to leave and not go to that doctor again.
Okay. Okay. And so when a doctor leaves a report like that, then where does it go?
Usually it would go to social services,
Okay.
family protective services, which they did come to my house. They come to my house. They separate me and my mom, her in the living room, me in my bedroom. They bring a sheriff or a deputy with them.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So it was 2 caseworkers and a deputy. And the deputy was questioning my mom in the other room about why is there a E at the end of Blanchard? Because it's just Blanchard. There's no E at the end. But she had put an E at the end and essentially was, forging all these documents.
Okay, so in Blanchard, that's your last name.
Yes.
So Gypsy-Rose Blanchard.
Mm-hmm.
But she's including that.
Yes.
To throw people off.
To throw people off.
Wow, look at that.
And so they questioned her, why is the birth date different from this hospital to this hospital? How old is your daughter? When was she born?
Yes.
Where was she born? And she goes on to tell them a story about how, She had a terrible marriage with my father, and he's abusive. And she put the E at the end because to avoid him finding us. Okay. So I don't know what they told her, if they're like, okay, fine, get it straightened out. I don't know. But in the other room where I was being questioned, they were asking me, is there bruises on your body?
Okay.
Can I look at your arms? Can I look at your legs? So I showed them my arms. I showed them my legs. And I was terrified of being taken away from my mom because my mom raised me to believe that child services, the state, as she would call it, is evil, is bad people. And so I was terrified to be taken away from my mom because at that time, yes, a lot of abuse was going on, but I also loved my mom very much. And they were asking me questions that didn't pertain to Munchausen by proxy.
Okay.
There wasn't physical hitting. There wasn't punching. There wasn't physical abuse.
Yes.
So I didn't think to say I could walk because they were asking the wrong questions. And I'm not blaming them like all this is their fault. I'm just saying I think that, in situations like this, Munchausen by proxy should have been looked at. If you see a child supposedly with all these medical issues, you have a doctor that writes in his notes, suspicion of Munchausen by proxy, why aren't you asking those questions? The right questions, instead of asking me if I have bruises,
If they had asked the right questions, how do you suspect
I
your life
probably would have
changed?
been so innocent and probably just told them the truth. Like, yes, I could walk. Not knowing, because I didn't know what Munchausen by proxy was.
When you reflect back upon the procedures,
Mhm.
what were all the procedures that the doctors ended up doing on you?
So the most prominent ones were, of course, the feeding tube. Now, my mother claimed that I was having trouble swallowing. Now, I have no recollection of ever having any eating issues. The surgery happened when I was 8. So from birth all the way to 8 years old, eating perfectly fine.
Yes.
No issues. Then all of a sudden go into the hospital having issues eating. And they had put the temporary feeding tube through the nostril. And then the doctor said, we want to do something more permanent. How about let's do a G tube?
Wow, I didn't realize you had a permanent
Yeah.
feeding tube.
Yeah. So they put a permanent feeding tube, and I had that all the way up until the crime happened.
So all the way through your teens.
All the way through my teen years. Yep.
So does that mean that you then never...
It's not that I didn't eat by mouth, but ate very little by mouth.
Okay.
So I would like mashed potatoes. I was allowed to eat that. But I was mostly fed through the feeding tube with Pediasure or Ensure, which is just a supplemental nutrition shake.
Okay. So that was, 9 all the way to your early 20s. So almost 2 decades of having a feeding tube. What is physically, what does that do to you?
I mean, physically, every 6 months, I would have to have it changed because any sort of foreign object in your body, the stomach acid is going to erode it away. So every 6 months, I'd have to have it changed, which is very uncomfortable. They don't put you under anesthesia or anything for that. And just kind of feeling the something foreign in your body, certain clothing I couldn't wear because it would snag and pull and tug. I mean, it's an open hole into your stomach.
Yes.
So growing up with that, it was something that I adjusted to. But it left me with a scar now that I don't have it. It looks like a second belly button.
Yeah. So then, Gypsy, what are some of the other procedures?
Okay, so if you notice, I have a scar. Okay, this is around my neck. And I also clear my throat a lot and have to drink a lot of water. So my salivary glands that produces saliva was removed from my neck. My mom would put Oragel before we would go into the doctor's appointment on my mouth to make me drool. Okay. So upon examination, the doctor saw me drool. It's excessive drooling.
I see.
There is a way to take care of that. So let's remove the salivary glands.
Wow. And I mean, that's a major procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And you are how old when that procedure happens?
That procedure happened in 2007, I believe.
Okay, 2007.
And my mom always would tell me, I'm doing the talking. Just be a good girl, play with your stuffed animals.
Okay.
You
In
know.
other words, don't say anything.
Right. And if you be good, which means stay quiet, we get to go to Toys R Us and a toy store as soon as we leave.
I would imagine, too, is that you're so used to going to the doctor that this is just a normal...
This is just routine.
This is
Yeah.
routine.
Mm-hmm.
At home, when you're not in the hospital, you would then just remain in your wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. And our day-to-day life was me in the wheelchair. I didn't get up and walk around unless she was not in the house.
Oh, wow.
So if she left the house to, say, go to the grocery store for a second, I would get up and walk around. I would
Oh, wow.
test the limits.
Yes.
Leg strength wasn't great. Obviously, because I hadn't been walking like normal. But just to kind of feel like, hey, I'm walking.
Yes. Did you ever think or bring up the fact that you could walk to your mother?
I
You
did many times, and
Okay.
it always resulted in an argument. And it always resulted in some form of it bringing all of it back to her. Like, you don't love me. I'm supposed to be the one you trust. I'm supposed to be the one you love. But if you feel like you can go and do better with your dad, then go. Like, it was always like this level of manipulation. Like, anytime that I would bring up, I'm not as sick as you're saying, it was always an argument. And then I felt like I had lost a mom. And I didn't want to lose my mom. And so, some would say I went along with that. Perspective is everything.
Yeah.
If you want to say I went along with it, okay, but look at the reasons behind it. You have a child that wants her mom to love her.
Yes. Yes. That really hit me because I see that accident.
Mm.
I also see what was happening in her house.
Mm-hmm.
I see the circumstances in which you were born.
Mm.
Unknowing what's happened to your mother, in her childhood.
Yeah.
And how each incident created to this spiral, as you mentioned. And you feel as if you're losing your mom.
Yeah.
And so you're just fighting to keep her.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes fighting to keep her is just staying silent.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you feel love from anyone outside of the love that you assumed that your mother was providing you? But did you feel love? And when I say love, is this emotional safety, physical safety? Did you feel that with anyone?
Back then?
Yes.
No.
Did you feel it with your mother?
Yes, for a time. Until I got a little older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you begin to not feel that love, and now that you reflect back as an adult, is what was happening for you? What was going on for you as a child who doesn't feel safe emotionally or physically?
Mm-hmm. There was anger towards her for, I felt, allowing my grandfather to take care of me at that time. And so I blamed her for what happened to me with getting molested. And there was resentment that boiled up. It wasn't there in early childhood because I was so innocent.
Okay.
But then the more time went on, the more anger and resentment built up. Like, you don't let me go over to dad's and spend nights over or weeks over with dad. I can never keep a friend. I might have a friend for a week, and then all of a sudden, my mom starts to get jealous of this friend. And we're talking a child.
Yes.
We're talking an 8-year-old child that you're getting jealous of. And there was always something that was wrong or off about that child. So I could no longer have that friend. And it happened over and over and over again. Most people have that best friend child, the best friend growing up as a child. I never had that.
Never.
Never had that. And that was a continuous cycle for everyone in my life. And so it's like I knew that no matter who it would be that I would get close to, it wouldn't matter because they would be, they wouldn't be in my life forever. The only forever was my mom.
Okay. And with your mother, it seems like everything then you did was with her.
Mm-hmm. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Did even when you were in the same house, did you? I read that you slept in the same bed.
We slept in the same bed. Mm-hmm. The only time that I was ever sleeping in my own room in my own bed was as a punishment.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is a small child, young child. I grew up, I loved sleeping with my mom as a child. And I was afraid of the dark. And so a punishment of mine would be, you have to sleep in your room. And I would cry and I would cry and I would beg to go back and sleep with her. But it's certain things in parenting that it's like you need to show your child gain some independence and not make independence a punishment.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I will imagine now, more so than anything, you're very aware.
Oh yes, I'm very aware.
Yes, of that.
Yes.
What did you enjoy doing as a child?
As a child, I loved playing outside. I loved, as a small child, I had a bunch of cousins. And
Okay.
we'd do cousins by the dozens nights. All the cousins would come over and do sleepovers. I loved to watch TV. I loved dressing up. Loved Disney movies. Loved playing with my dolls and Hot Wheels. Like, my toys and my mom was like my comfort.
Okay. I can see how she used the toy store
Mm-hmm.
because that was it.
Yeah.
It was the toys.
That was
I loved a good Hot Wheel myself.
Yes, they are good collectors.
Yeah, very good, very good. There's been an endless number
Mm-hmm.
of documentaries, TV specials, extended podcasts
Mm-hmm.
about your life.
Yeah.
It centers around your childhood, the crime.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything that you want to clarify that you've seen or heard about from these documentaries that you do believe is inaccurate?
That's a loaded question. I mean, nothing that I could really touch on specifically. I mean, all I know is that, from birth to, 5 years oldish, the simplicity of having my mom, even with the medical stuff. I loved my mom so much at that time. My mom was my world.
I see she was everything and the only thing
Mm-hmm.
that you had.
Yeah.
Real quick, hit subscribe and I'll tell you why. It allows us to continue making the show. Right now, I'm in LA, and by you subscribing, we can go anywhere in the world, bring you the most phenomenal guests, and continue making this show that we all love. And all you have to do is subscribe. It's that simple. And so you then start dating,
Kind of.
sort of.
Kind of.
How does that happen? And also, how does your mother react to that? Because you just mentioned when it comes to platonic friends,
Mm-hmm.
she runs them away.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you start doing that?
Well, my mom, how do I put this? My mom was very anti-men. Once my father broke her heart, it's kind of like I grew up with a mom that became bitter. I'm just going to put it out there, bitter. That every man is a horrible douchebag that is just out to hurt everyone. So my mom never, my mom wanted me to be a nun, literally, and she was going to put me in a convent. She really wanted me to be a nun, even though I never expressed to her that I wanted to be one. So knowing that, I always knew she didn't want me to date. You can't stop the curiosity in a child or a teen. And that's where I was at. I was curious about the opposite sex. I was wondering, so-and-so lives down the street. She has a boyfriend.
Right.
And I started comparing my life to other, people around my age. Watching the Disney Channel, they have these sort of pseudo boyfriends on TV shows and stuff.
Yes.
So I started getting curious, but I got curious in the wrong way. So instead of, obviously kids meet other kids via school. I wasn't in school. So I went to the internet and I found creeps on the internet. I did things on the internet I'm not proud of, like take my clothes off for strangers. These men that I would, meet online, they were predatory. And I wasn't thinking anything different other than, yeah, this is an experience that I've had before.
So it's normal.
It was normal. So it's kind of like I made a secret Facebook account that she didn't know about. I was adding strangers on there, meeting what I thought would be friends.
Yes.
And then there was a kind of like, I don't know if you know what Comic-Con is.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or like a sci-fi convention type of thing. So there was one that would happen in Springfield, Missouri every year. It was called Vision Con.
Okay.
And so anyway, my mom takes us to this convention and we meet lots of nice people. We have a great time. I dressed up like a princess.
Okay.
It was fun. I started adding all these people that went to the convention on my Facebook.
Okay. Okay.
And they would say oh, it was so nice to see you at the convention. So at least there was some level of interaction, oh, you were at the convention, so was I. And there was a guy that was at the convention. He sent me a Facebook request. His name was Dan, and he was much older than I was. So I was real age 18.
Okay.
18, 19. But my mom was trying to pass me off as 15. Okay, so he thought that I was 15.
Okay.
He was 36 at the time.
Okay.
And started talking on Facebook and just on Facebook. I thought he was cute. And he was kind of digging me too.
Okay. Is this your first kind of interaction, pseudo-romantic?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we flirted for a while, and then I start telling him more about my life. And my mom had caught us talking on the phone, and she threatened him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I was going through my mom's purse, and I found my my health insurance card, and it said my birthday was 1991. And so I'm like, that would make me 18, 19, not 15. So I tell this to him, and I'm like, well, that would make me legal. I can go live with you. All this sort of ideas.
Yes.
And he's like, well, if you're legal, then you could just get up and leave. You could leave. And I'm like, I don't have a car. I don't have a way to leave. And so he's like, I'll take you as far as Arkansas. Like, we can live together on a ranch in Arkansas. So 2 weeks go by. I get a text from him that he's in the hospital, that he wants me to join him in the hospital. He wants someone to be there with him. He got beat up. So I pack a bag, and in the middle of the night, I get out of my mom's bed, pack a bag, go out the front door,
Wow.
hitchhike, meet him at the hospital, and he didn't have a home. He was couch surfing at his friends. And so we go to his friends. They realize that I'm there, and they recognize me from the convention. And they realize this girl is 15 years old. So they got in contact with a mutual friend of my mom's. Told my mom where I was. 4 hours later, my mom comes to pick me up.
Oh, my goodness.
And she told me, she's like, if you come back with me, I'll let you see him. Manipulation to the fullest. So I get in the car. I'm like, okay. And I mean, at this time, I'm like all courage. And I'm like, I know I'm 19 and I know that I could see him.
Yes.
And she's like, if you come back with me, I will let you see him. So I go back with my mom. And that's when I got chained, tied. To me, all these, words restrained to the bed happened for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
you were
Tied
tied
up.
to the bed.
Mm-hmm. So what my mom did was she took a dog leash and clipped it and tied it to a pair of like handcuffs and then put it around the bed. And then whenever like I would need to go to the bathroom, she would undo it. And then like she had a way, like, because we were in the same bed, so she could tell if I would move or whatever, she'd wake up. And it was like that for 2 weeks. She put bells on the doors and then eventually put a padlock on the door. Blacked out all the windows with tint, like window tint. That's when she started hitting me, though.
Okay.
That's when the hitting started.
At this point, you're 18, 19, but she's telling you that you're 15.
Yes.
Your relationship with your mother, do you perceive her to still love you?
I didn't feel like it was love. I felt like it was a need. Like she needs me because she doesn't have anyone else.
Okay.
And so it's like after she tied me up, I gained enough trust to where I'm like, I'm not going to leave again. I'm not going to leave again. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to leave. So that trust was built up enough to be let off the chain. Well, then it's like soon after I attempt to run away again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But this time, like she found, and looking back on it, I'm like, why pack a damn bag? Just get out of the freaking house. Because I kept packing bags. Like, let me pack a bag.
Right.
She found my bag. And so she knew I was going to run away again. And I owned up to it too. I was like, just let me leave and you'll never see me again. Just forget about me. Just let me go. And she's like, I won't and I can't and you're not leaving. And that's when I proceeded to take a BB gun, and I knew full and well it was a BB gun. It was not going to kill her. I took a BB gun, and she came toward me, and I freaked out, and I released the BB gun. One hit her in the clavicle, one hit in the leg. They were superficial wounds. They broke the skin, but ultimately a Band-Aid covered it up. And then after that happened, like, we both had this moment of, like, sit on the bed, holy shit moment. And I was never the type to be violent, ever. I never yelled at my mom. I never hit my mom. It was at that moment that I realized that something in me snapped. that I could snap in that big of a way.
And what was your mother's response?
I honestly feel like she never expected to be trapped in her own choices. Her own design was falling apart in front of her. And I don't think that she realized that, and I don't mean this in any sort of mean way, but I don't think she realized I had the guts to stand up for myself in any meaningful way.
And so is it at this point where you then join the Christian dating site?
I did.
Okay.
About a year later.
Okay.
About a year later, I had joined the Christian website. And then the first thing that I noticed of Nick's profile is he likes to play video games.
Okay. You're chatting back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Does your mother become aware?
No.
No.
So I had a secret Facebook. I had, a secret Skype account.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a conversation with him that I want to meet him. We want to meet each other in real life.
Oh, so wow, Gypsy. So how long had you and Nick been corresponding without having met?
It was like 2 years.
2
It
years.
was like 2 years, yeah.
You had never met?
Never met.
Okay.
No.
Right.
Yeah, it was just like kind of like Skype calls and stuff like that all on the internet.
Okay.
And so we make a plan, and I'm like, listen, my mom is not going to just let me just date anybody. So maybe if she meets you, she could see what a nice person you are, and she'll like you. You could be my friend. And then like I can ask her if, you could maybe be my boyfriend. And then we wouldn't have to hide or lie anymore. So we think of this event, like where possibly could I be and you be? And I wanted to see the new Cinderella remake, the live action remake.
Okay.
That came out in 2015. So we decide, okay, that's where we're going to meet up. So my mom and I are going to go see the movie, and you're going to be there too to see the movie, but we're not together. We're going to meet like we never met.
I see it.
Okay. So we're standing in line, comes the day, we're standing in line getting popcorn and stuff like that. And he's there alone. But I didn't realize the optics of how that would look. Like, here's this guy that's alone, doesn't have kids, doesn't have a girlfriend, doesn't have a wife, nothing like that. Just go and see a little girl movie. I did not see how that would be weird.
Until you got there.
Until years later, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that was kind of creepy. Like, what were we thinking? But my mom called it. She's like, this guy is giving me weird vibes. And so we're in the auditorium, and my mom and I are sitting next to each other. Well, he comes sit next to me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My mom decides, hey, this guy's kind of giving me the creeps. So she moves several seats down. I stay put. I'm sitting with him. I'm not moving. She gets pissed that I didn't move with her. So throughout the whole movie, she's sitting there and I'm sitting over there with him. She's mad at me at this point. Like, I know I'm in trouble at this point.
Yes.
And he and I had previously discussed that we were going to have sex in the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, to the men's bathroom, go to the handicap stall. He follows me in. We attempt to have sex. Doesn't work out.
Okay.
And I go back, sit next to my mom. She proceeds to take me to the bathroom on the opposite side. Slaps me across the face and says, "You were gone too long. What were you doing?" So I was like, nothing. Of course I'm going to say nothing.
Right.
So the movie ends. We leave. He takes a cab back to his hotel. And we have a huge argument at the house.
You and your mother.
Me and my mom.
Okay.
about how she got the creeps from this guy, like why I didn't go sit with her, like the smallest little things would just kind of set her off. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I was just trying to make a new friend. I was doing my best to kind of like bridge that connection because I really wanted both of them in my life. I wanted my mom in my life and I wanted Nick in my life. And she was not budging. She got a bad vibe from him from the beginning.
You and Nick then just continue messaging back and forth.
Continue messaging.
And you feel like this is your boyfriend still.
Yeah.
And then your relationship with your mother, does it continue to deteriorate from there?
Continues to deteriorate. And we had previously, knocked around the idea of murder.
You did.
And it was all stemming from a conversation where he's like, it was an argument between me and my mom. Stuff got physical. She hit me. I told him she hit me. And he's like, I'm going to protect you from anyone. I said, anyone? He said, anyone. I said, even my mom? And he said, yes, even your mom. Like, I'll take her out too. And never thinking that was actually going to happen.
Okay. So for you, it wasn't a serious thought.
It wasn't a serious thought until after what happened at the movie theater.
Okay. So, really? So after the movie theater, then at that point, well, help me understand how it became a serious thought after the movie theater.
Because that's when I started to realize, like, no matter what I do, I will never be able to be my own person, never have my own freedom, never make my own choices. I'll never get married. Like, all of the thoughts of, like, what is my life going to be like in the next 20 and 30 years? Is it going to be like this right here? Is my life going to continue to be this for the rest of my life? My youth gone? Any happy moments of future children? Anything like this? How long is this going to continue? And that thought kept going in my head over and over and over again. So yes, the desperate thought of, I want my mom out of the picture. And it's like, I didn't want her dead necessarily. If she would have went to prison, I would have been all the happier. But that, unfortunately, was a conversation he and I had.
Okay. So you had it. And also, I'm curious, Gypsy, at this point, you are roughly how old? Because I know age-wise, you don't know exactly.
I was 23.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
23.
You were 23.
I was 23.
So this is even more fascinating because you're an adult at this point, but you still feel as if you are trapped.
Yes.
In your mother's home, and you'll never be able to leave it.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
Okay. The relationship with Nick as well is, how would you characterize it? Because I've seen moments or excerpts where it's been characterized as abusive. But how do you characterize that relationship? It was toxic.
Toxic. Very, very toxic.
Okay. How so?
Our personalities were not a good fit. Our backgrounds was not a good fit. I say, and I say this in my book, Nick was the car, I was the key. He was the gasoline, I was the fire. Separately, probably not dangerous. Together, catastrophic. Because he brought a component to me and I brought a component to him that resulted in tragedy. His conversations with me was predominantly about sex. It was predominantly about overpowering a woman, because he had an interest in this BDSM, master slave relationship, and he had this with his ex-girlfriends as well. So it was before me, during me, and after me. So this is not something I brought to the relationship. This is something that he had a thing for. And I had not heard of this sort of master slave relationship until meeting him. And so I did what I could to fulfill that fantasy for him. And that included making videos that we would send back and forth to each other. Um, those videos have now been released to the public.
Is that because of the court case or for other
Yes.
reasons? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
They are quite humiliating because these videos were intimate. They're not meant for the public. They were meant for Nick and only at the time. But anything from, doing sexual acts to saying really disturbing things that I definitely regret later on now.
Right. And I think what's important for, I think, us all to understand too is the context, because from what I understand is you had no one else.
Right.
So literally your world revolved around then your mother and Nick, two people that you are desperately in need of loving you. Do you believe they loved you?
I believe my mother loved me to an extent. I think that she didn't know how to show love. I think that unfortunately, she didn't get the mental health help that she would have needed to understand how to love a child and raise a child on her own. Going through the childhood that she had. Nick, I do not believe he loved me one bit. I believe that I was someone who was in a very specific situation, vulnerable situation to fill out his fantasies. He often had fantasies that were very disturbing.
Could you, are you open to saying what they were?
Rape fantasies. And he was looking for someone who was not worldly and experienced. So someone in a very vulnerable state to live out these fantasies with or to.
Okay.
And like I said, it would be one thing if, I brought a certain element into the relationship that was equally as disturbing. Like if those were my desires, but it wasn't. And before me, his ex-girlfriends did warn me.
Oh,
There
they
was
did?
there was an ex-girlfriend that did warn me that he has very disturbing behavioral patterns, and I brushed it off like she's just a jealous ex-girlfriend, and I completely ignored it. And then until it was too late. And then also post our relationship, he's went on to have another relationship, prison relationships, and where he continues the same cycles over and over again.
Okay. Going to the crime, what I understand was a catalyst for you also was it your throat that was going to be?
It was going to be like biopsy explored, and they were going to, have to do more things to my throat, but on my voice box this time.
Okay, so you were, if you can take me to that, because it seems like that was an important moment for you.
Yes, like it was a moment where I was like, I already had throat surgery already. And it was a rough surgery. And so the thought of going through another procedure that I'm like, well, this time you're gonna start messing with my voice. And that's terrifying. I felt like, how much more are you gonna take from me?
And so June 10th, 2015. If you can take me to that day or even the preceding day and walk me through it step by step, what you were thinking, what was going on for you.
So I knew that was the day. I had been texting with Nick. He said, you might want to start saying your goodbyes. And so I just remember my mom and I said, we're going to paint our nails, we're going to watch a movie. And I wanted to make it a good night. Like, I wanted to make it a night that I felt like I would remember her for the good. So she cooked dinner, she ate her dinner, I painted her nails, she painted my nails, picked out a movie, and laid down. She took a little longer to fall asleep, and then I fell asleep. Then I woke up shortly, like 5 minutes after she fell asleep. And I texted him that she fell asleep. And I said, the gloves are on the porch. And he's like, okay, I'm taking a cab over. And he didn't knock on the door. He texted me, he's like, I'm here. So I get up out of bed and I walk over, open the door. First thing he said when he comes to the door is, this bitch is dead. And I told him, like, be quiet, be quiet. And he's like, where's the knife? So I hand him the knife, and he said, get your bleeping ass to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom, I close the door, I lock the door behind me, and I just kind of get into the fetal position, and I cover my ears. And that's what happened.
If and at any point you don't want to discuss this, we can move on. A few questions though that I have is, so going into that day, it sounds like over the last maybe you've known Nick now for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
You have discussed murder previously with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's had fantasies of raping, murdering.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know? Why did you believe that it was actually going to happen on this day?
I honestly didn't think that he was going to go through with it until it actually happened. And then after it happened, there was a point where I didn't process what happened. He was walking around the house and talking at a normal voice tone. And I was like, shh, you're going to wake her up. Like, there was a level of distance from the situation where, like, she was dead in the other room, and I'm still thinking, I'm afraid she's going to wake up, see you in the house, and, punish me in some type of way.
Did you go to see your mother?
No, I did not go in that room. Nick actually, anytime, because her room is like right here, my room was right here, and then there's the hall. And so he would block her room. So anytime I was walking in and out of my room, he would block the area, so I couldn't see.
Okay. Now, I know that you're aware of how severe the murder was, and I understand he used the knife that you provided him, and that the stabbing was so severe that it almost severed her head. Did he talk about the murder at all?
No.
There was no discussion?
No discussion of it. Not after the fact, no.
Okay. Did you, when in the bathroom, because I would imagine there was a tussle, there was a fight that ensued.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear anything?
Yes.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
What can you say? What did you hear?
I heard screaming, and it was like horrible sound. It was a horrible sound. It was screaming. It was shock. I almost think I heard, "Who are you?" was asked. And I am right, because according to some of the transcripts of Nick's testimony and other inmates that had talked to him, she had asked, "Who are you?" And he responded, "I am death." Um, so I do know that that was probably what I heard. And I remember her calling out for my name, and like I wanted to go and help her. Like I felt like I wanted to go and help her, but I was terrified at the same time. Like my body was paralyzed. I couldn't move. Um, and I just kept remembering, breathe. Remember to just breathe. And I kept telling myself in that mind, just breathe. And I was so focused on like trying to breathe and block it out. And I just remember one sharp scream and then nothing after that. And then I realized it was over. And then he came to the bathroom door and knocked for me to open up the door.
What did he say to you?
He didn't, I don't think, say anything. He had cut his finger, and so he wanted me to bandage him up, and he wanted me to be completely naked when I opened up the door. And so I was completely naked, and he wanted me to hug him. So there was this sort of embrace where I was in a state of shock that I couldn't believe what happened.
And now I better understand, knowing his previous desires and BDSM and what he had said to you previously. Now I understand why he said, when I come to the door, you should be naked. I understand that he then assaulted you.
Yes. That specifically was really difficult because prior to having the crime happen, he wanted to assault my mom. That was his fantasy. He wanted to assault my mom. I felt like that was too far. I was like, no, I will not, do it to me instead. And he said, fine. That's the price you have to pay then. If you don't want me to do that to your mom, you're going to have to let me do it to you. And I agreed. So come to that point, keep in mind, I was a virgin. Come to that point, I guess I agreed to something I didn't fully understand. And that's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
And what's even more horrible is I had to testify in court. And I'm going to be open and honest and say that I had to basically say he didn't rape me. Because he got me to agree to it. So even though I said stop, I said no, stop, you're hurting me. But because I previously agreed to it, now I'm confused. What is consensual?
I thought consent is given and removed in a moment's notice.
I thought so too, but apparently not in the court's eyes.
So because you had what verbally or in a text said that you were open to having sex, that gave him open consent.
Yep. And in the eyes of the court, they feel the same way too. Because I told the court, I said stop. And they said, did he rape you? And they have evidence that I agreed to it. So I said no, knowing full and well that he did.
Wow. This is in court. This is in, what state was this? This is
Missouri.
This is in Missouri. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's a horrendous law there.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the assault, how do you feel in that moment? If you can go back.
It was also, you have to understand that there was yes, there was this assault, and yes, there was the crime. But Nick had also claimed that he has multiple personalities. So during this whole time, he's switching back and forth between personalities.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Split.
Yes, I have.
Okay, it was like that, where you can just change just like that. So the person that murdered my mother, his name is Victor, not Nick. Okay? Person who assaulted me is Victor, not Nick. So in my mind, these are two completely different people. I'm not looking at the person that just assaulted me and Nick is being the same person. I'm thinking, okay, one means to hurt me but also save me, and the other one is just, the Nick that I had been talking to for 2+ years.
I see it.
So I was compartmentalizing at the time.
Okay. And did you believe that he was multiple people in essence?
Yes.
Okay, you did. Okay.
I fully believed it. Like I said, I grew up with a mom that heard voices, saw things. So I was pretty gullible to just believe about anything.
Okay. Okay. Now I see. So then what do you two do at this point?
So we go back because he was staying at a hotel nearby. So we go back to the hotel, and I also had been self-medicating. I had developed a addiction to opiates. So I was taking 3 Xanaxes and Vicodins all together, and I was very, very high after the fact. Ordering pizza, giggling, laughing, not a care in the world.
Okay. And this is in the house?
No.
In the hotel?
In the hotel.
In the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The next day.
And so you both left your mother's body in the house?
Yep.
Was there thoughts on we're going to cover this up, or the thought was there was no thought?
There was no thought.
It was just
live, and every step was not planned. It was literally after it happened, it was run to a different state. Forget about it. It didn't exist.
Okay. So you went to the hotel, ordered pizza.
Mm-hmm.
You're just
chilling,
watching shows, having a good time. And so then 24 hours at a certain point you post, or who post? So one of the two of you post. You post. Okay. And what do you post?
So we were already back in Wisconsin at this time. That's where he lived.
Okay.
And I logged into my mom's Facebook account because I did not like the idea of her just being there. I felt very unsettled, very uncomfortable with it. Like that level of remorse and just like, I want her found. She deserves a proper burial. So I want her found. So I log into her Facebook account and I think back to what he said when he came in the house. The bitch is dead. So that's what I put. My mom hardly ever cussed, especially around people. So that's what I put to seem alarming. So the authorities could go and find her, and then she could be given a burial.
What about, did you discuss that with Nick to post? Was that, or that was just you?
I'm pretty sure that was just me.
Okay. Did it draw the authorities?
It did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, the goal that I wanted to have her found happened.
Okay. So she's found by the police.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But then what happens to you and Nick?
They think that I was kidnapped. I was missing. So to the authorities, I was missing. Now also you have to understand that my brain was not functioning in a logical way because I went around the house before we left the scene, taking down all the pictures of me, thinking that I would not exist if there would just be no pictures of me around the house.
Okay.
Didn't make sense at all. So days go by, they think I'm missing. Then all of a sudden they track the IP address to his house
From the post
from the post.
that you made. Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Right. Because whoever posted that was aware of what happened.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was not aware of technology that smart at all. Um, so they track the IP address, and then the next morning we wake up to the sound of a barking dog, which is was actually the canine unit. And two police squads surrounding the house in armored vehicles.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I told him, I was like, what do I say? Like, what do I say? What do I do? And he said, you're going to tell the police that your mom kicked you out. That you were kicked out and your mom got mad at you, so you left, and I came to pick you up. And you don't know what happened. Okay? So I went down first. I surrendered first. Put me in a cop car. Then they asked me, once they had me in cuffs, does he have any weapons? Does, have any bombs or anything? And I'm like, no. So they got him to come down. They take him into custody in a separate car, and they bring us to the police station in separate cars.
Okay. And then as you're headed to the police station, what are you thinking? Is it that you fooled them because you took the photos down? And
I was honestly terrified for Nick. I was terrified for him because at that point I didn't see how I can get in any trouble. I'm like, I just had a conversation with him,
Yes.
So in my mind I was definitely downplaying my part.
Okay. So you thought you get to the station, he would
be in trouble, and I told him, I was like, I had stole money out of my mom's safe. It was like $5,000, $4,000, $5,000. And with that money, I was like, I'm going to get you the best lawyer possible. We're talking like O.J. Simpson, amazing lawyer.
lawyers.
Because I had no concept of money, and how much things cost. So, I'm still fully in love with Nick at this point.
Yes.
I don't want him to be in trouble. I want to get him out of there. And I'm not seeing the scope of how I'm in trouble too.
Okay. When do you then realize you're in trouble too?
Upon being charged with first-degree murder.
What goes through your mind when you hear that?
Terrified.
Because that holds with it, is it life, or is that
Life without parole.
life without parole? Okay. So then you're immediately incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And for what I understand and then you remain incarcerated until just a few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Walk me through the case, because you made it clear to tell me right there, I was still in love with Nick.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you fall out of love with Nick? Is it during the case?
It was. I think, I look back on this too, and I feel like it was, Nick had been the only one other than my mom that I was talking to for, 2+ years. So it was like the moment that I had any significant amount of time away from him, that's when I started to be able to think on my own and think about, is this relationship healthy? What is it that I love about him? Am I romanticizing the crime that we just committed as an act of saving me? Or is there something more sinister that I didn't see before?
Okay. And then during that time, you're going through the court procedure.
Mm-hmm.
You're now off the opioids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know that you've reflected upon that murder multiple times. What's then your feeling towards your mother and what happened?
I was so upset with family and with the media because we're only allowed one legacy in this life. You know, when someone passes away, all they have left is their name. And I was feeling regret and remorse about allowing the media to paint her as a villain when I'm like, the thing is what if she's not a villain, but rather just a very sick woman that needed help?
Okay. Okay.
So I started to feel a lot of guilt about that. Um, and then upon getting to prison is when I started to feel m- the pain and the loss of, okay, I'm never going to see her again. I'm never going to be able to have this closure moment to ask her, well, why this, why that? Would she forgive me? There's no closure on either side.
Yeah. Now, there were court proceedings for you, but there was a trial.
There's a trial for
for
him.
Nick. Why is that the case?
Because I was offered a plea deal. So the prosecutor felt like there was enough mitigating evidence to offer me a plea deal to 10 years in the Department of Corrections. Take it or leave it. So I took it.
Okay. Now, I know that there was, this is right around the time when you hit my level of awareness, my radar, because this case, or should I say, this moment, was all over the news. It was everywhere. It was headline news. And I recall there being two schools of thought around that plea deal for you. Or should I say three schools of thought. One was, okay, that sounds about right. Another was, no way. She deserves life in sentence or worse, or a life in prison or worse. And another is, no, she should get off entirely, completely. When you reflect on a 10-year plea deal for your participation in murdering your mother, do you believe that was the correct sentence?
No.
You don't?
I feel like if I would have spent the rest of my life in prison, that would have been fair for the crime that was committed.
Oh my goodness. So then you feel as if Nick was given the right sentence.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't feel like he should have be free. But I do feel like he does need a lot of mental health therapy that needs to be done with him. And prison does not rehabilitate you to the best of their ability in the mental health space. They just don't. But yeah, if that would have been the outcome, that would have been fair for the crime that was committed. Now, do I also understand where the prosecution was coming from by offering me mercy? I do.
Okay.
So I'm appreciative for the second chance that I've been given, but I understand where people are coming from with feeling like the sentence didn't match the crime.
Okay. Wow, that's profound. For you to say that, very profound. Were you aware of the media attention that this story got around the world, but namely in the United States?
Not to the degree that it was. You hear little bits from other inmates and what their families tell them, but there is not a lot, especially in jail. You're not even allowed to read your own articles. If they make a story and you're in it, they take it out. They rip it out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So all of the papers had like these little cutouts and holes and everything because obviously it was such a big case, but I couldn't read any of it and I couldn't watch any of it. Anytime it would come on the news, the guards would turn off the TV. So I was so kept from it.
That's interesting. So you only knew through other inmates, through the family and friends of the other inmates.
They would talk to, yeah.
They would talk to you, and then they would tell you.
Yeah.
And what were you hearing? What were they telling you?
I mean, a range of different things like, man, your case is really big, like everybody's talking about it. But other than that, that's it. And then I went to prison. And then obviously when the act came out, Hulu's The Act, that kind of blew up. Like that was insane. I went from just being just a case to now being a TV character.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you, well, while in prison, did you see the act?
I did not. No, I heard about it because I was getting lots of fan mail and talking about it. And they would ask me questions and I didn't know what they were referring to because they had they had a lot of tweaks and changes that never happened in my real life. So the things that they were referencing happened in the show.
Okay.
And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Okay. But now, hold on, Gypsy. You said you received a lot of fan mail.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first fan mail that you received, and how did you feel knowing that you received fan mail?
So before the act came out, a documentary, the first documentary, was HBO's Mommy Dead and Dearest, directed by Aaron Lee Carr. And after that documentary, I was receiving a lot of mail, and it was supportive mail. I really don't like saying fan mail, but it was a lot of supportive mail from people all around the world that watched this documentary. And my story resonated with them for some reason. And
I'm curious, in that, Gypsy, what were they writing to you? What were they saying?
Telling me about their lives. A lot of them were very open to opening up about their own traumas.
Okay.
They felt like they could relate in some way or another. And it was where I didn't feel so alone. Like I started to realize that there was a lot more people out there that goes through some really hard stuff in their life.
Okay.
And I was able to form friendships with these pen pals over time.
All right. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So prison, though, is much different than your previous, living situation.
Very much.
How did you adjust to prison, to living there?
I adjusted quite well, I feel. It was more freedom than I had ever had in my life. And it's crazy when people hear that from me, but it's the truth. In prison, I was able to, find myself in a controlled environment, but as I was able to make friends. Making friends is not easy, especially as an adult, but I was able to make choices for myself, discover who I am, discover what kind of music I like, run around, go to the gym, go to school. I got my GED while I was in prison.
So, I want to say this delicately, but I'll just say it is that. So initially, did you enjoy your time?
I
in prison?
I won't say that it's enjoy. I will say it's live in a new way.
Okay, so you enjoyed living.
It was
in a new way.
Enjoyment in a new way, because there was enjoyment, but at the same time, the sacrifice is the time that I missed from my family that wanted a relationship with me. That's 8.5 years of me watching my sister grow up, go to prom, my brother get married, all these life moments that now I cannot join with them in, that I'm having to watch from afar. That is the punishment.
Okay.
Prison itself, I had a routine, I had a job. I didn't so much mind living there. If I had no family to go home to, prison probably wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, and I also thinking that you didn't have any friends.
Mhm.
So your entire life you haven't had any friends. You don't know how to navigate that. You haven't had experiences of people, you know, being your friend for ulterior reasons or not.
Exactly.
So how did you navigate that in prison?
I'm still navigating that to this day.
Okay.
But I will say I was blessed to have two really good friends that I'm still friends with to this day.
Wow.
They are both currently still locked up. Um, but there was never a time where I felt taken advantage of by them. And for me, that's big.
Now, I also know in prison is where you met your previous husband.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about that.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
First, how do you meet and marry someone while being in prison? How do you do that?
Well, I had received a letter from a man that's local, like a Louisiana born native. So I was like, oh, it's someone, from my neck of the woods, a Louisiana Cajun boy.
Yes.
So I wrote back and he seemed very sweet and we made friends. It's not like we got into a relationship right out the gate, but he made me laugh. He made me laugh, and that was something that is needed sometimes in
Oh,
prison.
okay.
Sometimes you just need someone to make you laugh.
Okay. All right. I see it. I see it. So now, how many men were writing you supportive letters?
That I wrote back to, or no?
Or no, not that you wrote back to you. I'm just curious, what was the incoming like for you?
I mean, the incoming, I was getting a mixed, I would get hundreds of letters. But I
In what
didn't write
time
back to
period?
everyone.
Hundreds?
And I mean, I would say in the months after a documentary or the act came out. And it got to be where the prison no longer had physical mail. They have tablets now with its own email system.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the emails would come in through that certain system. And it was hundreds, over the course of the next few months after the act came out. I mean, that's exactly how I met my current boyfriend. I mean, I met my current boyfriend before I met my ex-husband.
Did you?
Yes. So my current boyfriend, his name is Ken.
Okay.
He wrote me after watching Mommy Dead and Dearest.
Okay.
It was a supportive letter, not on any kind of romantic level. He gave me his work schedule. I gave him a call. Within 5 minutes of talking on the phone, I felt like we had known each other our whole lives, besties.
Really? But all right, you have to help me on this. Because dating, this is a spot, an area that I know, but I don't know about prison dating.
Yeah.
All right, so he sends you a letter.
Mhm.
In the letter, he includes his schedule.
Yeah, like work times. This is my phone number. This is when I work.
So he's already then approaching you
Mhm.
in a romantic way.
No. I
No.
mean, that's just calls or calls. I mean, it's not like you can, do very much, but like calls is how you, talk to people, get to know people.
Oh, so you're getting hundreds of supportive mail and email. But how many of those are people that you believe are trying to actively engage in a romantic relationship with you?
I mean, I would say about like 60% of them. I have my own thoughts on that.
Yes. Please, because I know that is a fetish.
Okay, I have my thoughts.
Okay.
My thought is that I didn't get a chance to watch the documentary until I was already out of prison. So upon watching the documentary, from what I kind of gather is, watching my story and then kind of watching where I was at that time, I feel like men instinctually want to protect.
Mm.
And then I'm also a chronic flirt. So I can see how it could kind of go that route too. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Okay. All right. What was in the early time in prison? What do you believe your self-esteem levels were?
Very low.
Very low.
Very low.
Okay. All right. So it must have been a thrill then to get this supportive male,
Oh,
because
of course.
it's validation. It's
Of course.
external validation,
Absolutely.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That I can also see it's very hard then to discern
Mm-hmm.
who to respond to.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a ongoing relationship or messaging back and forth with Ken,
Mm-hmm.
but then also, so then how does Ryan come into play?
Ryan, okay, so Ken and I dated, and my parents, he got to meet my parents. We got engaged. After 2 years, we got engaged.
Oh my goodness.
It
Okay.
made e-news. It was all over the news. It was all over every media tabloid. And he left me.
Ken did.
Yeah, he dumped me. In October, it was the day after his birthday. Same year we got engaged. He left me and broke my heart. When I tell you, we still sometimes have arguments about him, I say abandoning, because that, prison was the time that I needed someone. I needed support. I needed someone to ride or die with me through the thick and the thin of it, And I felt like he was going to be that one. And for him to turn off all emotion and not answer my calls and then go on to get into another relationship. He got with another girl literally 2 months after leaving me. And went on to have a 4.5-year relationship with that woman. And so also 2020 was the year of COVID. So Ryan wrote me during COVID after watching the documentary. And unfortunately, his was a lot different than Ken's, though.
Okay.
Ken, a friend of his named Diane, had watched my documentary first and was like, hey, you got to watch this documentary. It's so good. And they watched it together. Whereas Ryan watched it, then was at work having a conversation with a coworker. The coworker said, hey, I've been watching a lot of things about Tiger King. And then Ryan was like, well, if you write Tiger King, I'll write Gypsy-Rose Blanchard. And then it was on a dare. Okay? And at the time, I was like, okay, it's whatever. It's whatever. So 2020 was a very lonely year for me. And he made me laugh, and there were many times that I felt like I was not physically attracted to him, but I was getting emotional comfort. So much so that, when he was like, I want to get married, like, there were several times I told him, I'm like, I just think of you like a brother, or like, I think of you like a cuddle buddy, but he was always just has to be romantic, has to be romantic, has to be romantic. And then later, the prison emails between us back and forth were released to the public.
Oh my goodness.
And people could see how he was so aggressive at wanting the relationship or nothing. And so essentially, I married him for the wrong reasons. I was like, I felt like I settled. I felt like if I couldn't have Ken, I didn't want to die alone. And I wanted to at least prove to myself that I could maybe move past my heartbreak with Ken and go on to marry someone and be okay with just that. And I wasn't. We were married for like a year and a half.
And even the marriage, so the marriage, the actual wedding ceremony, it must have taken place in prison.
It did, in the visitation room by the bathroom.
Wow. Okay. Romantic.
Yeah, so romantic.
Yes. And who then attends your wedding?
The only person that attended was my friend, the OG friend. And my parents couldn't come, I think, because like the COVID stuff was still going on. So there was so much limiting how much interaction, how many people could come visit at one time, I think. So it was just my friend and that's it.
So I have to ask this too, is by this time you had served how many years in prison?
7.5.
Okay, 7.5. Okay, you had served 7.5 years, and you felt as if you had only a few more years left, because you didn't know if you'd be released early,
Right.
or not.
I had my parole hearing in December of 2021.
Okay.
And so I knew when I would be going home. I knew my release date
Wow.
at that point.
So you knew you were within a year.
Mm-hmm.
So then, Gypsy,
Why do it?
why do it?
Okay, well, because I was not paroling to the state of Missouri, I was paroling to the state of Louisiana. I had to enter into something called an interstate compact.
Okay.
So what that means is you can parole to a spouse or a family member, but you cannot parole to a boyfriend. So I could have paroled to my family. I had that option. Before I met Ryan, that was my plan. And then I met Ryan, and then, of course, I wanted to live with my boyfriend who had been waiting a few years for me. So, I struggled with, do I go live with my family or do I go live with a partner that has been waiting for me? And so that was the benefit of why then.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. So what in the world happens? How do you two break up?
Well, I get released. And I go home with him. We had an apartment in Lake Charles. And I'm not going to say that I was unhappy. I was not unhappy. We had taken a trip to New York. Because we were filming a reality TV show, essentially.
Essentially, or you were?
We were. It started a few days before I got out. The Gypsy-Rose Life After Lockup series. And so we are navigating, filming this show about my life, present day. And so that adds such an element of stress to it. I mean, it was a wonderful show. I'm appreciative for the, opportunity to go ahead and do it. But it was a level of stress too, because it's cameras all in your face. I mean, the very first night that I got out, there's cameras in the bedroom with me and Ryan.
Wow.
And it's freaking me out because it's like my eyes were even trying to adjust to the color, because in prison, everything is so beige, so, gray. It's colorless pretty much. And out in the real world, there's so many vibrant colors. So I'm adjusting to seeing colors. And the last thing I want to do is be on a camera while my husband is trying to get groovy.
Right.
This is not what I want to be doing right now.
Right. But this is what's happening.
This is what's happening.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So what then happens? I mean,
the cameras left, so they didn't get any sort of intimate anything. We consummated our marriage that night upon release. There was this whole thing called the D is fire, and it was, I feel terrible for even saying this, but Ryan was like, please, whatever you do, don't embarrass me. So I was like, I got you. Don't worry. No matter what it's like, I got you.
So this is your commentary on your first night together.
Yeah.
Sexually.
Yeah.
And you said that.
I'm not gonna say it was terrible. Now I've had better, but
okay. So relatively speaking, it was not.
It was mid.
It was mid. It was mid, as the kids say. Yeah. So now I have to ask this so you were how old at this point?
32.
You're 32.
32.
What I find interesting is you were in your teens, I could see that you were trying to, you know, go through puberty
Mm-hmm.
like so many of us. You want to have a romantic relationship, right? You want to explore sex.
Mm-hmm.
You attempted, were unsuccessful
Mm-hmm.
at consensual sex.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first time having consensual sex
Yes.
at 32?
Yes.
So that experience, what is that experience like for you?
It's hard because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and I wasn't comfortable. I mean, I hadn't had a lot of therapy, like one-on-one therapy to work on the trauma that I had experienced. So, unfortunately, and I told Ryan this too. I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I just, I feel like I have not gotten to a point where I could enjoy myself,
Yeah.
because I'm too busy thinking about the past.
Yes.
And I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. And this makes sense, to me, knowing that your your ex, we'll call him your ex,
Mhm.
that he's going to do life in prison, knowing that your mother is no longer here, and you played a role in her no longer being here.
Mhm.
How do you feel leaving prison early?
Leaving prison early, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't think of anything other than my own happiness at the time.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And can we acknowledge that you are a public figure?
Mhm.
You are a celebrity.
I hate that word.
Okay, you're a public figure. I'll go a public figure.
Okay.
You are well known. You are well recognized. Perhaps having one of the most recognizable childhoods of any, American.
Mhm.
How do you deal with the attention right when you get out? Because one thing that I was quite shocked at was how many people came to your support.
Mhm.
It felt like, if you look at your social media, for example,
Mhm.
you were very quickly followed by millions of people. I mean, how does that feel?
I was not expecting it, and I was not ready for it. Um, when family and friends said, "We're gonna need to protect our girl because she doesn't know what she's coming out to," I was expecting hate. I was expecting, I was gonna be hated like Casey Anthony is hated. Um, but it was the opposite. Um, like you said, I gained millions of followers, which my brain couldn't even wrap my head around what 9 million followers on TikTok and 9 million followers on Instagram even is. Um, and then going just to Walmart, going to the grocery store, going to a mall, having people run up to you and want to take a selfie with you and things like this. None of that I was prepared for. And so, yes, it was flattering, but at the same time, I also had people that I have weird reactions to, because it's like some people are like, I would have did exactly what you did. And I'm just like, please don't. I'm not trying to be out here advocating for murder. This is not how you become famous. This is the result of what happens when tragedy meets tragedy meets tragedy again and again and again, and the system fails and people get hurt. There's so many more stories that of childhood abuse that don't get talked about. But the only ones that we want to recognize are the ones that a Lifetime series and a Netflix show, an HBO show, and worldwide attention is thrust upon. Why not take some of that spotlight and give it to all the victims? Because I'm not the face of Munchausen by proxy. I never wanted to be, never claimed to be. This is my life. Y'all made me this. I didn't.
Powerful. It's powerful. I can see that in particular, that this is an area that now it's it's interesting. It's been given to you. You didn't ask for this, but this platform, if you will, has been handed to you. And I can see that you acknowledge that. So coming out of then prison, you have this attention, but you're still married. Then you have the television show, right? I'm also curious though about how you begin to adjust to life, because from what I understand, this is your first time now living life in your 30s.
Yeah.
It's your first time walking down a street without having
My mom.
your mom
Yeah, or a prison guard.
or a prison guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is your first time, turning on a television.
And just be like, I want to watch this show,
Your first time interacting with people. What was that like?
It felt so freeing, and everything was trial and error.
Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
Learning how to cook, learning how to do this, and learning how to do that. Like at the time I got out, I didn't know how to drive. Like I didn't have a driver's license. I never drove a car before. So this is all stuff I felt like I was learning how to be going through a teen year, a 20s, and now landing in 30s and supposed to be exactly where I'm supposed to be. And people watched me go through many different fails, many different challenges. People have often said, like, tell me to act my age. I tell them, can you give me the 23 years that I was with my mom, or the 8.5 years I was in prison and got to miss out on all this? So please do give me another 32 to catch up.
Okay. Yes.
I'm making decisions on my own and trying to figure out what's right. And I'm doing it in front of the world.
Yes. Yes. So you feel the pressure.
Yes. Blame me all you want of making stupid life decisions that a teen would make,
But you feel like that there's
nothing that I have done that would feel like someone could justify saying that I'm a bad person. Not in that way.
but yet do you hear that? You hear those statements?
Oh yeah, I hear those statements all the time.
And I mean, what are they? What are those statements, and who's saying them?
I mean, it's just mostly online trolls.
Okay.
They might be usernames 7, 8, 9, 10. But you don't know if it's bots or if it's people with actual opinions. But opinions, everybody has one. And all that I have done in my life, since out of prison, is learn who I am. And like I say, I'm not perfect, but whatever it is, whether it be I had my daughter out of wedlock, I divorced my ex-husband, they throw that in my face like that's a crime. And I'm like, if you would realize that's not the worst thing. Okay?
Yes.
Be thankful that the little stupid shit is just all I'm doing.
Yes. 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 So you decided to divorce Ryan. Was it in order to have a relationship with Ken? You knew you were going to have one, or it was the chance at having a relationship with Ken?
It was the chance.
Okay.
It was not a guaranteed thing at first.
Okay.
So, I started to drop those hints to Ryan, and then one night, it was actually on Valentine's Day of 2024.
Okay.
And I woke him up that day, and instead of being like, I love you, honey, I woke him up telling him how I had a dream about Ken, and I missed Ken.
Wow.
And so I was always very brutally honest. I was like, I wasn't meaning to hurt his feelings, but I'm kind of like, this is where I'm at with it. Can we have a conversation about it?
Yes.
So nothing was ever kept from him in the dark. He was not blindsided about how I felt about Ken. He knew. And so one night I had put a note by his bed and I said, I'm so sorry. You know, here's the ring back. So he came home, he saw that, he crumpled it up, threw it, kind of cried or whatever in the room for a little bit while I posted up in this separate bedroom. And then an argument had happened. And in this argument, he's yelling at me and he is standing by the bedroom door. And he opens it up really quickly as I'm like, can we just have a conversation about this? And he opens it up a little too quickly and steps forward a little faster than I'm used to. And it triggered me. Now, is he a violent person? No. Would he ever hurt me? I don't feel like he would. But in that moment, I felt triggered. And so I call my sister.
Okay.
And I'm like, Ryan and I are arguing. Like, I felt like he came at me. Can you please come pick me up? So my sister comes pick me up. I spend a few days with her. And then I go to my stepmom and dad's house. And I file for divorce. A family acquaintance unfortunately talked to the media.
Okay.
And proceeded to tell TMZ that Ryan threatened me, that he was abusive. I never said Ryan was abusive. I said he came at me and was in my face yelling, which he was. But is he an abuser? No. So I wanted to clarify that up. Like, I never claimed Ryan was abusive.
Okay. You were only triggered.
I was triggered. I had not had a lot of therapy, if any, at that point.
Okay.
And so I had not dealt with certain situations like yelling, arguments, stuff like that. Again, I had been in prison, and my defense is like, okay, I'm going to leave this situation.
Yes.
I'm going to, if anything pops off that I don't like, I'm leaving. I didn't leave before, but I sure as fuck will now.
Yes. Didn't you file it was temporary, but a restraining order against Ryan?
It was not a restraining order in that way.
Okay.
So my lawyer, divorce attorney, handled everything. She took care of it all. I made no requests. She's like, we're going to do this, 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 and this. Okay. I didn't understand any of it. I was like, okay, whatever you feel is best is best. The restraining order pertained to our finances. The restraining order basically said you can't touch the money that's in the joint checking account without it being for things like necessities. You can't go out and buy a car. So it just put a halt to our finances.
Okay. And this makes sense to me as well, because I would imagine, given the volume of television shows that were out about you and the interest, that there was probably a significant amount of money made in that period of time, and you were married. So now it becomes this.
Now it's our money.
It's a joint asset.
Yeah.
So was that the main challenge with the divorce? Was then how do you split that and unravel that?
We actually, my lawyer said that I could get 50, half and half.
Okay.
So we halved and halved it. Whatever was in the joint checking at the time, we halved it.
Okay.
Took a half.
Even though, I mean, quite honestly, it seems like the money was generated because of you.
I mean, there was probably only about 40,000 that was in that account at the time.
Okay.
Because the show money came in like so many months. It didn't come in one chunk.
Okay.
So by the time that all of the show money came in, I had already moved banks, had my own bank.
Okay, fair enough. So then you two split.
the chance of me and Ken getting back together, I wasn't sure. It wasn't a for sure thing. I wanted to at least see him. We hadn't seen each other in 4.5, 5 years. So I wanted to see, am I crazy, or do we still have this like spark?
Yes.
So he came to visit me at my parents' house. Comes, we meet up, we decide we're going to get a hotel in New Orleans and we're going to go do an airboat tour. We're going to go do a, whole New Orleans day trip.
Yes.
And the level, when I tell you, I don't know how to ever explain the love and happiness that I felt. I hope that everybody in the world gets to experience that feeling of happiness and just in love everywhere. Like, it was amazing. And I just knew, I'm like, I'm in love. This is it. And I know what I have to do.
Yes. And then you said then a month late. So then you're together then for a month.
Mhm.
And then a month after that.
I got pregnant. We had got back together. Like we had a weekend of having that New Orleans weekend, had a great time. He comes back a month later, and that's when I got pregnant. And then I find out a month later that I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to show you a photo.
Okay.
Ready?
Oh boy.
Okay. Now you ready for this?
Yeah.
What is happening in this photo? Who are you with?
Yeah. Aww. So this is the day that my daughter was born.
Okay.
So this is Ken, and this is our baby girl Aurora.
All right.
This photo was taken 1 year after I got out.
Really?
She was born on December 28th of 2024.
Okay.
I got out December 28th of 2023.
You could not have planned that. I mean, that is incredible. I did not know that it was 1 year.
1 year.
To the date.
Yes.
So this is your purpose.
This is my purpose. Yeah.
To be a mommy.
I think it is. I mean, I think it's healing. Of course, when I knew when I found out I was pregnant, a lot of people were like, how do you feel becoming a mom, not having a great mom yourself? And of course, it's like I can say this and that in an interview, thinking, okay, well, maybe this is how I might feel. But it wasn't until I had her, she was 2 weeks old. I was rocking in the recliner, and I looked at her, and there was just something that hit me. It felt like I was going through trauma all over again by thinking to myself, how can a parent ever hurt or cause any harm to their child or any child? And I just started to cry, and I held her close. I'm gonna lose it. Sorry. I'm sorry. I held her close, and I was like, I love you. I love you so much, and Mommy's never gonna let anything happen to you. Because in my heart, I felt like I was hugging a baby me. I just felt like I wanted to love her like I wasn't. And I wanted to give her everything that I wasn't. And it just hurt, and it felt good at the same time. And I'm sorry.
No. I tell you what, you never have to apologize for allowing us all, to see you in your emotion. That's all you wanted. That's all you wanted as a little girl, was to feel loved, was to feel safe. And isn't it so interesting what life gives you?
Yeah.
Right? And now here you're in a moment where you didn't receive it, but you're going to be able to give it.
Yep. And it also gives like my dad a second chance too, because my dad didn't get a chance to be around in my life as much as he wanted. And so now watching my dad be a part of her life too is also very healing too.
Yes. Yes. Look at that relationship with your father now.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. When you, Gypsy, think about the future, the next chapter, right? What are your dreams?
There's my professional life and then there's my personal life. And my personal life, I want to have another child. Get married, buy a house. And then in their professional space, I personally am starting my own podcast.
There you go. Love it.
And so this podcast is going to be conversations, real conversations like this that you're having with me, about people who have gone through trauma, but also have been defined by the worst moments in their life. And it's a redemption of how do they get from there to where they want to be. It's a real one-on-one conversation, and it's not just celebrities. We're talking average people. We're talking celebrities. We're talking anybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody has had trauma. Everybody has had something happen to them. And no trauma is greater than anyone else's trauma. Trauma is trauma. And it is so therapeutic to talk about it with someone, especially when that someone has gone through trauma themselves.
Yes. Yes. I'm with you. I think more conversation needs to be had so that we can normalize the fact that trauma is an experience that we all go through. And to your point is that, and then you can come out on the other side.
Exactly.
Right. You can heal.
Heal from.
And I think given the platform that's been thrusted upon you,
Yeah.
that's probably one of the best ways to use it.
Yeah, the best spaces.
Yeah. There is something I like to end on. There's a question that everyone gets, but before that, I have one last thing that I want to show you. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. Get ready.
Okay.
Okay. Here it comes. All right. So now, this is my favorite photo of the entire batch.
Okay.
I want you to tell me who's in this photo.
Okay.
Okay. And then I have a question for you about this photo. Ready?
Aw, that's me.
Look at that. Look at you.
That's me.
Yes. Do you know roughly how old you are in this?
Oh, goodness. Maybe 2?
Okay. Yes. So this is young you.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very, very young you. All right. This is you in what I'm sure you would consider to be good times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'd love for you to do is tell me what you would like to tell her.
I would tell her that she's loved. And that life is going to be hard. Life is going to be really hard, but do not give up. Because your daddy loves you. Your daddy loves you a lot. And so does Auntie Christy. And your brother and your sister, they love you very much. And someday, a little girl is going to love you. You're going to mean everything to her. And everything you wanted in life is going to happen for you. But you're going to have to be strong. You're going to have to be very, very strong.
You know what? She was. She was.
You're making me cry.
No, you know what? what I love, what I have loved about it, and I'll hold on to that. I think it's such a beautiful photo. I love it. Very stylish, by the way. Those overalls.
The overalls.
Do you know, I wear overalls to this day.
Really?
Yeah. I think I have your entire outfit.
Oh my goodness.
I think I have that. What I have, I think, appreciated most from you in this conversation is I feel like there's been a sense of vulnerability and openness and light, right, to you in this conversation. I've just that I've loved, right? Your level of reflection will stay with me. This is hands down, it's one of the most memorable conversations that I've had. I've been doing this podcast for the last 2 years. You've exceeded my expectation in terms of your transparency in the story, you know, and I wish you all of the most amazing things that this life
Thank you.
can give you.
Thank you.
And most importantly is I wish you the ability to give yourself beyond grace but forgiveness.
I'll work on it.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll work on it.
There is a final question
Okay.
that everyone gets, and that question is this. Gypsy, you've had some phenomenal conversations
Yes.
in your life.
Yes.
When you think about the most memorable conversation, who was it with and what did you learn?
Would it be too cheesy to say you?
It wouldn't be.
Okay, so this has to be a really good conversation. In all the times that I have done interviews, I have never had anyone really listen to me. Until now. And give me the freedom to share whatever I wanted to. So thank you for that.
You are welcome. You're welcome. I wish you the best in your advocacy work. There are millions of people who adore you, right? And now, having met you, I understand why. Yeah.
You're going to have to come on my podcast. Too.
Oh, yeah. I'm there. We can unpack my trauma.
Yay!
I'm from New York. I have a lot of trauma.
Okay. We look forward to it. We're going to talk.
we do need to talk. Yeah. Gypsy-Rose Blanchard. I've never had a conversation like that. Ever. And I think this conversation is going to surprise quite a large number of people. The constant theme to me is the desire for love. And it just goes to show how this is a core human need. And you see the consequence of that. This is the reason why healing from trauma is so important, because you can see what happens if you go through trauma, you see and behave differently. Mental health needs to be paramount in terms of our responsibility as family members, friends, colleagues. Mental health is everything. What's up, good people? If you've made it this far, let me tell you, I appreciate you. You are truly part of this community and you like long episodes. But quite honestly, this doesn't go unnoticed. Now, if you haven't already, I want you to hit subscribe. It's right here. And if you've really enjoyed this conversation, I know you're going to love this one.